I still can't believe whether what he told me was real or just a nightmare. But the trembling in his voice, the fear in his eyes proved it really happened to him. My friend David, we were close in college, but after graduation, life took us in different directions. He got a job in a quiet suburb near Chicago. For months, we didn't speak. Then one night, out of nowhere, he called me. His voice was broken, heavy, like he hadn't slept for days. "I have to tell you everything," he said. "I don't know if I'll make it through this." At first, I thought he was drunk or exhausted. But as he kept talking, I realized he was terrified. There was a tight, hollow panic in his words, a sense of helplessness I had never heard from him before. David had moved into a small rental house. From the outside, it looked perfect. White picket fence, trimmed lawn, a large oak tree shading the porch. Rent was unbelievably low, almost too good to be true. The landlord was an elderly man named Harold. When David signed the lease, Harold only gave one warning. His voice was cold, almost pleading. "Never keep the windows open at night." David thought it was odd, but harmless. Maybe it was about security or the cold draft in winter. He didn't think about it again. The first week passed normally. He went to work, cooked dinner, watched TV, slept. Nothing strange. But by the second week, things changed. Every night around 2 a.m., he began hearing footsteps. Slow, heavy steps moving across the hallway. Sometimes it sounded like someone climbing the stairs. Other times, like someone pacing outside his bedroom door. He froze in bed, holding his breath, listening. Once he swore he heard breathing, long, ragged breaths, just outside his door. He never dared to open it. He just waited until the sounds faded away. During the day, the house felt ordinary. Sunlight filled the rooms. Nothing seemed wrong. But at night, when everything grew quiet, the house came alive with noises that didn't belong. The walls creaked even without wind. The floorboards groaned under invisible weight. The faint sound of whispers drifted through the empty corridors. One afternoon, his neighbor, an elderly woman named Mrs. Clark, approached him. She looked uneasy as she spoke. "Do you know about that house?" she asked. David shook his head. "The girl who lived there before. She vanished one night. The police never found her," Mrs. Clark whispered. David laughed it off, saying maybe she just ran away. But deep down, the fear was already growing. Then came the night he forgot to close the window. It was Sunday. He had been working late, too tired to notice. Around 2 a.m., he woke to freezing air brushing against his face. Slowly, he opened his eyes. The curtains shifted. The window was wide open, and outside, someone or something was standing there. No face, just a tall, thin shadow pressed against the glass. Its shape was indistinct, blurred, but too pale. White shapes where eyes should have been glowed faintly in the darkness. Staring directly at him, David said he couldn't move. His chest locked up. It felt like the thing was pulling him closer with just its gaze. Then, without warning, the window slammed shut from the inside. The sound echoed through the room, and the shadow was gone. The next morning, desperate for answers, David searched the basement. He noticed a part of the wall looked strange, wooden planks unevenly nailed together. He pulled them off. Behind them was a small hidden room. Inside, dust and cobwebs covered old furniture. Torn clothes were scattered across the floor. And on the far wall, written in what looked like dried blood, were the words, "Don't look outside." His stomach turned. The smell of rot lingered, though nothing alive was there. He ran upstairs shaking. That evening, he confronted Harold, the landlord. At first, Harold refused to speak, but finally his voice broke. 20 years ago, Harold said, my daughter disappeared in that house. One night, she left the window open. I heard her scream. By the time I reached her room, the window was open, the curtains blowing, and she was gone. I never saw her again. Tears welled in the old man's eyes. Since then, everyone who stays there, they vanish. Always at night, always after they look outside. It waits there, and if you see it, it takes you. David begged him for details, but Harold only shook his head. You can't fight it. Just don't open the window ever. That night, David locked every door. He checked the windows 3 times. He swore he wouldn't let it happen. But when the clock struck 2 a.m., he woke to a faint creaking sound. The window was opening, slowly on its own. Cold air poured into the room. The curtains lifted, and the shadow was back. This time it leaned inside. Long, bony fingers gripped the frame, dragging across the paint, leaving deep scratches. The smell of rot filled the room. The sound of nails scraping wood echoed in his ears. He ran to the door, pulling at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. It felt as if something was holding it shut. In panic, he called me. I answered, half asleep, and all I heard was his terrified scream. "Help me, it's here!" The phone crackled with static. I could hear wood splintering, glass rattling. Then his voice broke into sobs. And suddenly, silence. The line went dead. I called the police immediately. They went to the house within the hour. But the house was empty. The door was locked from the inside. The window stood wide open. David was gone. The only signs left were claw-like scratches on the wooden floor and a faint dark stain near the window. The police filed it as a missing persons case. They never found a trace of him. But I know the truth. Something took him. The same thing that took the girl before. The same thing Harold lost his daughter to. The thing that waits outside the window. Even now, months later, I can't sleep without checking my windows. I keep them shut no matter what. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear David's voice. Faint and broken, whispering, "Don't look outside." Never look outside.